Subnautica 2 sold millions after Krafton claimed it was not ready, and suddenly the quality delay looked like payout damage control. Forget the cute fish game version, because the story is delay, payout, court ruling, AI chatbot, restored leadership, and a launch that made the excuse look worse. Krafton delayed near an earnout window. The court called its leadership move pretextual, and players showed up. An earnout is bonus money the seller receives if the studio or product hits agreed targets after a sale. That matters because Unknown Worlds was not only making a sequel, its former owners were tied to a payout worth hundreds of millions. Bloomberg linked the 2025 delay to the $250 million earnout timing, which instantly changed how people heard quality. Krafton publicly said the delay was about the game not being ready, not contractual or financial considerations. Players have heard that sentence before, right before corporate spreadsheet gets dragged into daylight. Delays can be legitimate, because early access builds can break, co-op can fail, and nobody wants developers shoved into a bad release. Timing changes everything, because a delay beside a payout window does not sound neutral to people anymore. Gamers are not lawyers, but they understand when polish arrives with a money smell. Then Reuters reported the detail that turned the whole thing into satire with legal footnotes. Krafton's CEO consulted ChatGPT while trying to figure out a takeover strategy. Delaware's opinion opened by saying he went to an AI chatbot to contrive one, which is brutal. Imagine running a major publisher, facing a giant studio dispute, and leaving behind a record that sounds like a joke from gaming Twitter. Suddenly this was not just about a game delay. Soon it became a story about control, payout anxiety, and executives treating trust like something they could patch later. Original claim was that the game was not ready. Judge Lori Will did not buy the leadership removal story the way Krafton needed her to buy it. Her ruling found Krafton's reasons for firing the Unknown Worlds leaders were pretextual, which means the official explanation looked like cover. Gil was restored as CEO, and the court gave him operational authority over the early access release again. Control mattered because the fight was not only about titles, offices, or hurt feelings. Access had to be restored, including launch-related access such as Steam publishing control, so the release could move forward. By then, the story looked less like oversight and more like a fight over who held the launch button before the bonus clock expired. Corporate language always tries to make hardball sound responsible. Executives say alignment, readiness, stewardship, roadmap, and risk management because those words make a financial knife look like a safety tool. Audiences hear that and start looking for the hidden clause. Public statements lose power when the documents, timeline, and judge keep pointing in the opposite direction. Nobody expected Krafton to announce, "Yes, we delayed the game because the payout looked expensive." Denial is the default setting when the money angle catches fire. Also, the denial had to stand beside the delay, earnout firings, chatbot detail, and court findings. Viewers do not need legal training to see why that looks bad. Items lined up, making the public relations version feel thin. Meaning, the story stops being legal noise and becomes something every gamer understands. Product demand was real, the audience was ready, and the delay suddenly looked less like protection and more like control. This is where the court story stops being paperwork and starts becoming public humiliation. Meanwhile, Subnautica 2 did the funniest possible thing during a corporate fight about whether it was ready. Launch day arrived, and the game did not crawl out of the mess. Unknown Worlds announced early access on May 14, 2026, and coverage said it sold 2 million copies in 12 hours. Steam concurrency passed 460,000, while total concurrency across Steam, Epic, and Xbox went above 650,000. Numbers like that do not prove the game was flawless. Bugs still exist, rough edges still matter, and early access still means unfinished systems. Early access does not need perfection to prove demand, it only needs enough trust for players to show up with money. Demand, however, crushed the idea that this was some lifeless product nobody wanted. Rough launches can survive if the audience is hungry. Dead launches do not usually kick Steam's door open before lunch. Success became evidence, not decoration. Every sale, player spike, and wishlist conversion pushed one question back toward Krafton. Was the real problem the state of the game, or the state of the payout? Reddit did not need a finance professor to find the angle. Threads across R Gaming, RP Gaming, and R Subnautica asked who benefits from buying, whether developers get paid, and whether Krafton still wins. Fans were not only asking whether Subnautica 2 was fun. Normally, a publisher once launched talk about biomes, creatures, bases, co-op, performance, and scary things moving outside the light. Coverage gave Krafton those conversations, then chained them to court orders, executive removal, earnout math, and an AI strategy note. Picture funding a sequel for years, then watching release week become half sales milestone and half corporate autopsy. Worse for Krafton, the huge launch made the payout story louder, not quieter. After the numbers hit, outlets immediately connected the success back to the $250 million earnout, because ignoring that would be ridiculous. Judicial action had extended the earnout window, Gil had control again, and the game suddenly looked commercially powerful. Trying to bury a bonus story only works when the product stumbles. Victory laps become receipts when the product explodes. Commercially, Subnautica 2 looked like a win. Politically, for Krafton's public image, it looked like the excuse had been dragged into daylight. Money stories get louder when the audience proves the product had serious demand all along. Incentives explain why gamers smell rot when finance appears before gameplay. Studios get bought with promises of independence. Founders stay through earnout periods. Teams build value. And then the owner discovers success comes with a bill. Publishers love upside until the upside belongs to somebody else. Language changes from partnership to governance, from trust to oversight, and from launch planning to strategic review. Pattern recognition is why this drama escaped the Subnautica fanbase. Anyone who never touched the first game can understand the story in 10 seconds. Simple version was that big company buys beloved studio, bonus clause approaches, sequel gets delayed, leaders get removed, court pushes back, game launches huge anyway. Structure beats decoration here, because facts already hit harder than metaphors. Readiness was the story Krafton wanted the public to accept. Record evidence made the leadership removal look improper. Results this big made the audience impossible to dismiss. Community reaction made the trust damage visible. Together, those pieces create a cleaner narrative than any overproduced monologue could. Businesses can have real fears, and early access launches can become disasters when teams misjudge scope. Once a court calls your stated reasons pretextual though, credibility does not come back because the press release uses smoother words. Trust does not work that way. Industry audiences already assume publishers use quality as a fog machine when financial weather turns bad. Whenever a delay arrives near a bonus, sale target, merger promise, platform deal, or subscription push, people will remember Subnautica 2. Buyers will ask who gains from waiting. Accounting will get dragged into every not ready claim. Suspicion spreads because modern games already demand too much faith. Customers are asked to buy early access, pre-order deluxe editions, accept missing features, wait for roadmaps, trust patches, and believe future content will arrive. Companies want patience, wish lists, launch purchases, subscription engagement, and benefit of the doubt. Stories like this spend that trust like loose change. ChatGPT matters beyond the meme because it makes the decision-making look cheap. A $250 million dispute should involve careful judgment, serious legal review, and leadership that understands optics. Rather, the reported detail gives normal viewers the image of an executive asking an AI box how to handle a takeover mess. Message received by players is simple. Creators can build something valuable, then leadership may still treat payment like a problem to route around. Feeling that is why this story has legs. Example after example has taught gamers that promises of independence often last until independence becomes expensive. Buy the studio, sell the friendly partnership story, depend on the talent, then panic when the talent's success triggers the costly part of the contract. Flops are easy for publishers to explain. Because this game launched huge, the old explanation now looks cracked. Consumers may forgive bugs, missing systems, and early access roughness when they believe the team is honest. They forgive less when they think a publisher tried to move the finish line. Core outrage is not complicated. Almost everyone understands a boss promising a bonus, then acting weird when the worker gets close to earning it. Sequel gave that workplace story a Steam chart, a court ruling, and an absurd AI subplot. No wonder people click. Under the memes, the trust question is basic. Who was protecting the game, and who was protecting the money? Management can keep insisting its actions were about quality, but the public argument now has to survive launch numbers and court findings. Developers at unknown worlds have the rare advantage of results that speak louder than statements. 2 million copies in 12 hours is not a whisper. 650,000 concurrent players is not a footnote. Massive wish lists and immediate demand do not settle the legal fight, but they absolutely shape the public one. For commentary, the clean ending writes itself. Story starts with a delay, turns into an earnout fight, gets uglier with ChatGPT, gets judged in Delaware, then gets blown open by a monster launch. Spare the smoke machine. Absurdity was already in the facts. Quality control was the line. Payout control became the suspicion. Ruling findings made that suspicion harder to dismiss. Release success made the excuse look worse. Afterward, the publisher was stuck with the headline "No cooperation" once the game was big enough to show why the money mattered. Ultimately, Subnautica 2 became more than a survival sequel. Case closed on one thing: gamers do not trust clean corporate sentences anymore. When companies say "for the players," audiences now ask, which contract made you say that? Basically, the Ocean game surfaced the corporate rot players already suspected, then forced everyone to watch the excuse collapse in public live. Evidence did. And once the evidence surfaced, Krafton did not look like the adult in the room. Instead, it looked like the company that tried to call a payout problem a quality problem.